Here we go. Hey everyone, welcome to the live stream and welcome to Saturday. I hope everyone is having an awesome time at the moment. I'm just going to quickly unmute all of everyone that's in here. Hopefully I haven't forgotten anyone. All right, let's go and say hi to all of our guests today. We're going to start with this view. Big hello to you, Burg, up top left. How you going?
Hey, how are you doing, Rance? All good over here. Just
Awesome.
got settled in my new house in Sweden, so it's a little bit messy, but we'll make do what we have.
Fabulous, fabulous. All right. Also, big hello to you, Inky. How you going?
Hello. Good as always. Good as always. Proud
Fantastic.
to be here. Thank you.
Fantastic. And never ever last but least. How you going, Dazza?
Always last and least. I'm good. I'm overtired, so just help me get through tonight. We'll be right.
Oh, we'll keep you awake. We'll keep you awake. There's a lot going on tonight. Big hello to everyone who's joined us already in the chat. And there's Robin. How you going, Robin? We've got Axel Soft Music. We've got Mr. Mac. And yeah, so already getting a few people. If you're watching the stream and you haven't jumped into chat, make sure you do. We're pretty friendly here. We'll say hi to everyone. Now, so this week, obviously, the topic is the one that we're going through right now, and that's Black Friday. And obviously, this is probably the best time of the year if you're a musician to buy your gear. So we'll be talking a bit about that. We're also, obviously, we've got Burg here, and he's going to talk through, he's going to be our jam of the week. So we're going to go through that as well. That's going to be awesome. Can't wait to do that. What else have we got? We're going to be talking about some of the new products that's been released during the week. And also, we'll talk generally like we always do afterwards. But don't forget, we have our normal segments, and we'll start off with our first one. Let's roll the stinger. FunnySide. Now, everyone, don't forget you can still talk over this, so no one's muted. We're all can react and everything. So this is more for you, Burg, because you haven't been on the stream yet. So now, obviously, This week, FunnySide is probably going to be one-sided in terms of topic. And we'll start with just the memes that I came across. And there's so many of these. It's all about the same thing. Let's start with this one. We've got... this one actually got me laughing so much. So you can see the Poly D guy wants to be involved. And obviously, he just didn't quite connect. So... We'll just keep moving because I'll warn you now, I've got quite a few of these. So it's all the same topic. So obviously they've had a marketing meeting and the name parody didn't go down too well. And obviously we all didn't go down too well with the name either. Everyone started arguing about what paraphonic was and what polyphonic was. And most of us who were pretty chilled were saying, just guys, no one really cares. Come on, just get over it. But a few people cared. I mean, obviously they saw the name Poly D, but then when they actually focused on it, it was probably not quite. But some people even thought it was Pauly D because it's got 5 bosses, bro. I mean, Drake even got involved in it as well. Got to have Drake in his puffy jacket. And he even got further than that.
But I didn't get it done quick enough.
Yeah, it'll go quick. Don't worry about that. You got to stick to it.
Beat me to it.
Polygamy. Polyphony. Come on. This is getting a bit out of hand. All right, and the last one that came out today was Omniphonic by Behringer. That has to be that one just got me laughing as well. So there we go, guys. That was the funny side for this one. Let me turn off my Omniphonic. Boop. There we go. What did you guys think of that? I had to do it real quick because there were just so many of them. Guys in the chat?
Yeah, I mean, fun stuff, always fun stuff. But in the end, right? I mean, who cares, right? It's a new synth.
Yeah,
it's all
exactly.
about terminology and stuff like that, right? So, I mean, from my perspective, a synth that can play more than one note with is obviously polyphonic, and the one with one note is monophonic. So I don't really care about this technology and terminology kind of warfare that seems to be going on out there. I just miss the mini keys, right? That would be lovely to see that on this one.
The mini that would have broken the internet, wouldn't it? Mini keys and
it would have.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. All right. So we also got a couple of people who have joined in the chat as we've streamers. Mac Mister's in there, and Offworld Network. How you going? And Darren, who usually is sitting up here on the screen, he's joined us too. So it's really nice to see you, Darren. Obviously, we'd love you to have you up here as well. All right, let's go on to the next segment because there's lots to get through. Where are we? Trying to use this software today. It's really... Here we go. Go! All right, so we're up to news, and there's going to be quite a bit of that this week, but I actually think we just need to keep it pretty focused. And I mean, obviously the big news this week is this. We've just talked about it. You know, this is a new synthesizer. It's really starting to shake a few people. They're pretty excited about it. I believe it's going to be available 6 or 7 weeks' time, according to Thoman's website. So that's going to be pretty cool for those people who are able to order through there. And I mean, usually the Europeans will benefit from that. So yeah, let's have it just before. There's another news item after this, but let's just have a quick chat with our guys here. What do you guys think of the news with the Poly D from Behringer?
Can I jump in? I feel like Michael Jackson with his popcorn at the cinema here. The thing with the D there is the lack of envelopes. To me, that's a huge problem. It's like notes will stop and start in different ways, running on one envelope. Like that's just not going to cut it for me. Yeah. Is that okay? I'm allowed to complain, aren't I? At this area,
you're allowed to have a little complaint. I mean, that technically it's a Model D clone, isn't it, guys? So it's basically a monophonic synthesizer, and they've just split the voices up so that you can play each oscillator as a separate note. And obviously, once you do that, then they all have to go through the same envelope VCA and filter. So obviously, that's where the paraphonic term comes into it. So of course, there's going to be limitations with that. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of no different to a Matrix Brood or Burg, you were saying?
Yeah, isn't it like almost like the grandmother or the matriarch? Does it have the same structure, right? 4 voices and 1 envelope to share with it all, right? So if you think of it as a cheap matriarch, it actually makes more sense than a Minimo clone that I've thought of it when I first saw it being posted.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's a good point. Now, I don't know if Inky's frozen again, so we'll just... I think she's like frozen. So we'll get Inky's comment about it later. I'll just... Oh, she's
still got audio.
She's definitely there, but her camera's frozen. Okay, so we can hear you. You can make a comment if you like if we got your audio. Oh, you're buffering big time. We might just see what's going on with you, Inky. You're buffering. I don't know if you've got an internet problem there. It's not my side because the stream's healthy according to YouTube. So we'll work with you, Inky, separately, okay? All right, now let's go to the next news item. So we've got to go back to here. And obviously the other news of the week really is this, isn't it? I mean, this is really... it's not like a thing. It's, that you can buy. It's an event. And, as a musician, I think it's becoming probably the best time of the year to get musical instruments, because it seems to me that this is when most of the musical instruments distributors and retailers, they'll discount the best at this particular event. Now, for a lot of us who don't live in the US, Black Friday is kind of it's kind of a weird thing. It's kind of, we never really had it before. It's it's kind of like we've now adopted this Black Friday phenomenon, and I'm sure people in the UK, people in Australia, and I don't even know Burg in Sweden if it's a thing over there, but we're kind of adopting it here in Australia, and it's kind of weird. But for us as musicians, it's big, isn't it? So who here out of just us 4 has utilised the benefits of Black Friday sales in the last couple of days? Anyone? Daz is saying no?
No, it's a marketing thing. It's an American marketing thing. And I'm far too broke.
Not from... Yeah, it's a little bit of a lag here. Go on, Daz.
You're all right, Ollie. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, Ollie, you go.
Yeah, so I mean, I didn't really buy anything from my studio, but I just got one of the streamer boxes for my hi-fi setup in the den, and but I think it's spreading a little bit. There was some Black Friday stuff going on also in Malaysia at the time when I was there, and I think it spread here to Sweden as well. I had a friend or acquaintance who bought a new endorphins shuttle setup for almost no money at all, right? So I think it makes a lot of sense to have an opportunity. If you're like saving up cash to buy something, it might be worth it to wait until Black Friday rather than just going and buying something because it's cheap, right? So they want to lure you in and buy stuff that you don't really need, but if you it could make a lot of sense because you can save a lot of money, right? But for myself personally, I haven't really, taken the opportunity to buy any music stuff. I'm not allowed to until next year.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Inky, what about you? Did you avail yourself to anything?
I was trying to get some stuff for my daughter to get into music.
Yeah.
But it wasn't any cheaper. So, and I didn't. I was very good this year, last year. But like Ollie, I've got to wait till next show.
Okay.
I didn't look. Is the safest.
Well, I got myself one thing, and that is I just really couldn't say no to it, and that's Inky already knows what I got. I got the Circuit Mono Station from Novation because they had a 50% off, and I've got a BS2, a base station too, but I don't know, I like the Circuit, and I like the fact that they've merged the base station 2 with a Circuit under one box. For 50% off and free worldwide postage, I couldn't say no to it. I mean, it was only a couple of $100 US in the end, so pretty cheap for a decent analog synth, and it's also paraphonic. So, it plays 2 notes. So that's what I got. But nothing else so far. No software or anything like that. And we do talk about Cyber Monday as part of this whole Black Friday sort of thing as well. So, do any of you partake in getting software cheap during the Cyber Monday deals? No one?
Software.
Software. Yeah, nobody.
Let's just get Daz's face. I just want to get that face again.
Don't come to me.
The face
I tell you what I bought this week. I bought another second tier stand. I'm going up a level. We're going to be 3 over here.
Wow.
And that's just to fit in things that I already own that I just can't fit in here. I need another level. We're going up. We're renovating. Okay. I also picked up the FS6 foot pedal to control the Boss.
You got it. Oh, good. Awesome. Guys in chat too, let us know if you guys got anything for Black Friday or even for Cyber Monday. Let us know, and then we'll flag your comment and we'll put it up into the stream. But before we do go on to the next topic, I just wanted to show you. I actually sort of visit this site, I don't know, a couple of times a year. And I'm not a big blog reader, but this actually I thought was pretty useful for us. They've done a really, really good article here on askaudio.com. Now, I will link this in the video description after it goes, blah, blah, blah. If you're watching this on the replay, you already have the link. So what it is, it's like a one-stop page, and they've collated where they've done a really good job of this. But I've actually discovered deals in here that I didn't even know about. And you can see there's Akai Multimedia, they've got deals. They've gone into a lot of detail with this too. So whoever was the author of this, hats off to them, because there's a lot of research that's gone into this. And it's not just software, there's hardware in here as well. So the Novation deal, the Arturia stuff's in there, Waves Audio. There's a lot of software though, I will admit. But I think you'll find there's Roland gear, Boss pedals are pretty discounted at the moment if you're into those Boss pedals. Roland have got some gear that's discounted. Anyway, you guys can check that out. So that was kind of like the little present. If you haven't come across that article, I think you guys will find that while we're right in the middle of it right now. And I think all these sales will probably go on for the next few days at least anyway. So if that helps anyone, that's all good. So Andrew Brooks is saying he hasn't got any spare cash at the moment. His car just cost him £400. Yeah, I know that feeling. Like, to me at the moment, I'm thinking that if I have to get any more gear, I'm going to have to sell something. And when you get to that point where you think, ooh,
sell the car.
What has to go? Maybe I'll sell my kids. But yeah, we can't really sort of go into it. Anyway, speaking of prices and stuff, let's get on to the next segment, and then we can get stuck into the free-for-all anyway. So we'll start with this. This one is not so much scams this week. This is probably more about price watching this week. So the price watching I come up with this week was pretty cool, actually. And this is really relevant. So as I do my internet searches, this is now starting to become something that just happens to me every week. And I thought a Moog, mini Moog from the 70s. So this is an original one. Now, 8,000 Australian dollars is probably about nearly 6,000 US, somewhere around there, right? Which is probably not a scam, a price. It's probably, it's probably worth that. This is an original mini Moog, so refurbished as well. Some people will actually think that this is actually worth it. Now, the only reason why I'm bringing this up is because I just want to sort of put sort of a thing out there. There's going to be people that will absolutely love a mini Moog and they want to have one, and there's going to be people who just want the sound. So we're going to now look at what the new Behringer's worth. And now they've already listed it, as I said, at Thomann. This is the Australian price. It's actually $6.99 US, is it, or euros? One of the two. Anyway, you guys can work it out. 1,000 Australian dollars, basically.
That's cheap.
That is very cheap. So basically, I could buy 8 of these instead of a vintage one. I know it's not the same thing. I know. Look, let's not get semantics here, but I can get the sound out of this. You know what I mean? It's about the sound. All right. Now, just so we know, yes, Moog did do a reissue. When was it? A couple of years ago. They're not making them anymore. So there are a few stores around the world that are getting rid of their old stock. So this is US dollars, is selling one for $4.5. So there you go. Just looking at it before, you could go and get yourself an $8,000 vintage 70s one, or you can get yourself a brand new $4,500 US one. And this guy in Australia is selling one. Even though he says it's discontinued, I actually contacted him and he said he has one in stock. So that's, what is that, 6,000 Australian. So it's about the same price as the other one in US. So there you go. Just going back to the reality, you could get that and it will do the same thing. You could get that a few times. You could bash the absolute hell out of that. And, you would still have a decent sound. So, yeah. I don't know what you guys think of that. I mean, I'm probably going to break the internet with that comment, but does anyone sort of agree or disagree?
I kind of agree 100% with you, Raz, because it's all about the sound. Because I don't think anybody will be able to pick out the original from the remodeled or the actual clone when you actually put it into a mix, right?
Yeah.
It's all about the feeling. It's like having a vintage Fender guitar, right?
Yep.
It has these dings and marks, and it's built with craftsmanship and quality. Just owning that synth, gives you like inspiration of making music. But the actual sound that comes out on the other end doesn't really differ that much, right? So I think from the sound perspective, I think you could get either or. You can get the small Poly, not the small, the small Model D clone from Behringer, or maybe just the Poly D, or maybe some of the other clones that are out there to get exact same sound that you're looking for and use that properly in the mix, right? I actually had a friend who's been hauling his mini Moog live, and he said he's most probably going to buy the Poly D because it's cheaper. He won't cry his ass off if it breaks up during touring, right? So it makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of use cases out there for a synth like this. So I think Behringer hit the spot really with this one.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you guys? I know you guys love the sound of the Model D. I mean, everyone's probably heard a record and over the last 40 years, and probably not even realised that that's a Model D. That their ears are having little eargasms too. What about you, Inky? What are your thoughts?
I think it's very much like Ollie said, isn't it? If you've got a piece of history, that's one thing. But if you're looking for a sound as part of a setup, then no, and now this is made, you'd buy that. But it's all about history and things you love. People like to collect things. So I think they're two different things. I think they're totally two different reasons why you'd buy it.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah, two different markets.
And how rich you are.
And how rich you
as
are.
well.
Yeah. What about the fact that there's people talking about this synth, like they're saying that it's got a bit of mono poly, which is from Korg, like an 80s synth from Korg, early 80s synth from Korg, because it's got the the way it's been set up is kind of like the mono poly, and then you've got a bit of Juno in it with that chorus. Now no one's been able to confirm this. I've even asked Yuli him direct, and he hasn't answered me. He's probably getting too many questions. But I wanted to find out if they actually put the actual real Juno Bucket Brigade delay chips. They're actually originally made by Panasonic, the MN3009s they are, because when you know how TC Electronic made that June 60 pedal that they were claiming, oh, this is going to be a Juno chorus, and it never ended up being. It was just some analog chorus pedal, really. So I'm just wondering whether the chorus in that we should ask Moot Booksley, because he's sort of within our group, so we should ask him because he's got one. So anyway, I just wanted to find out what chorus is in that, because really what you've got there is potentially 3 different types of analog synths. With the best parts of them, and then you've merged it into one. It's pretty clever. Yeah. So Axelsoft Inky Axelsoft is saying that you're quiet, so you could pump yourself up a couple of dB if you want. Do it again.
1 2 1
Yeah,
2.
you can come up a bit if you want. You're good to come up.
Hello.
Just keep playing with
it. That's as far as I dare.
Yeah, that's much better. Actually, that's probably where you need it. Yeah, you're getting the thumbs up now. Cool. By the way, too, I've noticed this week the stream is actually pretty good in terms of latency. It's only about 6 seconds. That's actually really good. Thanks, YouTube. You're fixing your problems. It's really good. All right, now this is probably going to be, I would say, what everyone's been waiting for. Actually, Burg, we've been waiting for this for probably a couple of weeks now. So the people in chat wouldn't have known that you were coming until today. But we're gonna introduce you to Jam of the Week. What we're gonna do first is we're gonna actually roll the stinger, and then we're gonna play your jam, and then afterwards we're gonna have a bit of chat about it. Now, I will say that before I literally just didn't know what to choose. Honestly, they were all so good. They were really, really good, honestly. And I just thought, I'll just choose that. And so, it was kind of one of those things. So whatever I've chosen, there was no sort of rhyme or reason to it. But anyway, let's roll the stinger. Jam of the Week. And we've got Burg this week. Let's go. All right, here we go. Now, this goes for a little while, so I just want everyone to hang around because it's worth listening to this, and I'm going to hit play. Let's go.
Yeah.
Woohoo! Thank you.
Brilliant. Absolutely
Awesome.
brilliant.
Yep.
Wow.
Thank you.
And
Thank
I
you,
reckon I
thank
could
you.
listen to that over and over and over again. What do you guys reckon?
Can you
I
put the
just wanted
link
to be
in
in a
the
club.
description?
The link is in the description already. Yep.
Thanks.
It should be in there.
Everybody in the chat was dancing. We all just wanted to be in a club or in that
Yep.
room with you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really, really good. And you know what? I have to say that most of your jams are either better and they are improving each time you do it, you know, and you're using your use of the gear. It's just like, honestly, you're an inspiration to a lot of us, and that's why we wanted to get you on, because we'd love to sort of, you know, pick your brain a little bit if you don't mind. And you know, it's so
Absolutely.
awesome. Your videos are good because they're actually showing you using the gear. And it's, you know, you see a lot of people do jams and they don't really show people using the gear properly. It's kind of like one camera angle or, you know, whatever. So yeah, where should we start? I mean, like, wow. Should we start with the gear, guys? What do you think? There was a lot of gear in that one. What do you think? That the TRS was the brains? TR8, sorry, the TR8 was the brains.
Yeah, the TR8 is the, I don't remember exactly what I used in this one, but just look at it and listen at the music. Obviously, the drums was TR8, and then I had one of the Korg Volcas was doing the low end bass, and then I think the Minilog was doing some bass arps, and then the arpeggiator obviously on the System 1, and some distorted melodies on the Arturia Mini Brute. And obviously electric piano on the Rhodes, and some, you know, sequences to the left and to the right from the Analog 4, right?
Yeah.
So I like to think, you know, when building a track, it's not just, you know, one instrument. So I try to use, think of it as conducting an orchestra, right? You have the bass guys over here, you have the violins over there, you have the drums over there, and then you have the contras, and you have the altos, right? It's like, you know, use a little bit of each instrument here and there, not everything at the same time, right? So try to pull in and punch in some instruments here, and here comes another sequence over there, and try to mix it up and match it so it works, so it doesn't become too saturated, right? So that's the way I like of thinking, you know, using the instruments. Because, you know, if you look at my studio, you might think, oh my God, this guy has a lot of gear, right? I'm not actually using all of the instruments at the same time. It's just punching them in and out whenever I think that they're needed, right? So using them as building blocks, maybe just like anybody uses Ableton Live, right? So that could be the same methodology. You're punching in the buttons and the instrument comes in, you're tweaking it into punching it out and punching in something else, sort of.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And obviously, you know, guys who are in the chat, if you've got any questions, you know, please ask them away, and we can chuck them up onto the stream. So there's a few people saying they were tapping, nodding, and dancing around on their chairs, and some people are saying that they've listened to you for ages. I think Tyler was saying, agreed, I've noticed you've improved since you've found your voice. So that's interesting, that comment. I think I remember you doing a song about a year ago where you started singing with the guitar. So yeah,
That's true. I did some. I think I did some vocal kind of track, right? It was, things go in and out, right? I mean, I have been playing music in different ways throughout the years, right? So I've been playing synth music, but I haven't really been the vocalist per se, because I've always, you know, done music with people that I think are better singers than myself, right? So I never, you know, taken the opportunity. But for something just happened. Like, okay, I have some lyrics that I needed to work on, and I just put it out there and made a song, Burg style, right? It's, you know, it kind of worked, you know, to my own, you know, how do you say it? I wasn't really prepared to think it will work that well. That's all I'm saying, right? But Burg is mainly an instrumental act, and I don't think that there's going to be that much vocals going forward. Just to let you guys know.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah. So I've got a couple of questions. Offworld Network said, so mainly budget gear in this track. That's actually a pretty important comment, I reckon, because if you can only afford budget gear, this is what you can do with budget gear. That should be inspiration. Darren's asking, what's your favorite bit of kit? Do you have a favorite bit
Oh,
of
it's
kit?
always going to be the MS-20. Always going to be the MS-20.
First video I saw of
Sorry, Inky, you're breaking up still. We'll get Berg's answer and then we'll come back to you. So what you're saying?
Yeah. The favorite piece of kit is always going to be the MS-20, right? It's the first synth that I got once I moved back to Malaysia. Not back, but I moved to Malaysia, right? And that for me has been, the synth that has more or less shaped my sound, right? So that's always going to be very close to my heart, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you like the new Behringer? Is it K2? Is that the one that they've? Yeah, I think that's the MS-20. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I probably will be, raising hell on the internet again, but I'm not such a big fan of Behringer since, people will hate me for saying this, but, there's something in there. I won't touch too much on it, but I haven't tried them. I think they're doing a great job, but I don't think that you will see that many Behringer synths in my setup. Just put the
put the pin in.
That's it.
Yep. Fair enough.
Exactly.
Awesome. All right. Some people are asking questions about cameras and what software you use to capture your videos. So I think we'll come back to that because that's kind of secondary. We'll stick to the music because that's really what more this channel's about. Even though I do camera stuff on it, but yeah.
Can I just jump in there, Rand? Early on, I asked you about how you were recording, and you were recording into a Zoom Q4. And ever since that, I got hold of a Q4, and that's what I've been using. So I'm a bit of a fanboy over here. You'd be surprised. I've been following you for a few years, and I've copied a couple of your techniques already. But you give me a really bad gas. And one thing
sorry about that.
That's fine. It's great. I wish my videos could be half of what your videos are. And the micro granny is one that I've always wanted just because of the way you were using that, and I think that was in that last video.
Yeah, the samples, they're really cool. Are they 8-bit or are they? Yeah. What are they? Are they just some sort of crushed up samples? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a granular sampler. Unfortunately, mine broke, so it's currently in a sad little box, all by itself, not working. So I'm figuring out how to make that work again. But it's basically a granular sampler. You just chuck something in, and it will just mangle the sample, find different split points, and move the sound around, right? And you can basically put in anything. So what you're hearing on this track, I think, is somebody talking about, I think it's some instruction video or something, really boring. Yeah. This very, astute American radio type of voice, right? But when you mangle it up, it sounds really ominous and, weird, right?
Yeah, like space, like a spacey sort of thing, yeah.
Exactly. So that's the good thing with the Bastel microgranny. It will do things to very, very simple and mundane and day-to-day sounds that you couldn't possibly have imagined to chop up and manufacture yourself, right? So from that aspect, I really want to make it work again.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I actually asked you about that years ago. Like I kept saying to you, "What's that little box?" You probably get so many people asking you questions like, "What's that box in the corner that you can't quite see?" That was me, about 5 years ago, annoying you. So one of the things I will mention, and that is that I remember when you actually picked up, and it's been a while now since you picked it up, but I actually remember when you picked up this mixer, and I've actually got one. I think I told you when you got it that I was actually pretty impressed that you got one. There it is there. So
oh yeah.
Once you picked that mixer up, and I noticed there was an absolute massive change in the quality of what you were pumping out. Like your recordings just went boom up to another level. Would you say that?
Yeah, I would say that's the truth, right? That's the truth, because previously I was using Behringer stuff, and that kind of put everything in a different level. Being able to, because I don't really use EQs, to be honest with you guys. I don't really shape the sound in the mixer. I try to shape the sound before it comes to the mixer. Then the only thing that I have to do is just take off a little bit at the bottom end, like high pass filter or something like that, to make sure that all the sounds fit together. But this, for me, it makes really important that the mixer has a high quality, right? So whatever I put in, it needs to sound the way that when it comes out on the other end, right? And the Presonus just lifted things in a different level when being able to have multiple sounds at the same time once they were working together, they didn't saturate the master channel, if you know what I mean, right?
That's the one. Yep.
And that for me was, it was a big thing, really big thing. So, I mean, you don't really think about it when you're sitting there mixing, when you have a couple of 3 synths, not a big problem. But when you start coming up to 15, 16, I think you really need to think about the quality of your mixer to make sure that everything blends well together, right?
Yeah.
So, having said that, obviously you can do stuff that is really great with cheaper stuff, with cheaper mixers. I have this Behringer 1002B something line mixer as well that I'm using as a sub mixer. It works really well for the use case. But, going back to, where I was in the beginning, I think that the mixer, like you said, has helped me to shape and make a more clean sound overall.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Inky, I did sort of pause you for a sec, but it looks like you've stabilized. You were going to say something. Do you remember what that was, or shall I keep going?
Oh, I have to thank Ollie for getting me back into synths, because I found Ollie looking for a Chaos pad as a DJ. So really, so you used to have a Chaos pad and a couple of Volkers, I think.
He did, yes, he did.
And so really, you've caused me to spend lots of money and be really happy. Thank you, Ollie.
That's awesome. So, how long ago was that, Inky? Sorry, I cut you off, Ollie. What did you say? Sorry. Sorry.
I'll send you the bill.
A little bit late. I just said sorry about that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can do that. I'll send you my email.
Inky, how long ago was that?
Getting on 3 years ago.
There you go.
I was looking at DJing and bought the MPCs, and then they brought our mixer, a Ray mixer with a Chaos pad in it. I was like, oh, I want a Chaos pad, and then I found a Chaos pad and Ollie and synths, and
and look at you now.
I've got a room full of stuff. Yeah,
absolutely.
The Chaos Pad is actually a really good effects little box, right? Because you can do so many things with it. You can sample loops, and you can use external samples with the SD card, and also you can use it as an effects processor. And the Chaos Pad KP3 Plus has been with me almost since day one, and I still use it really heavily for a lot of these, mangled granular delay stuff as well. So it's really, really good as a standalone unit, as an instrument, but also as an effects device, right? So I currently have it on insert, as a send effects return. So I send some of the instruments to it, and then I have a programmed granular delay that I punch in and out from time to time. So when you ever hear like these things in my tunes, that's the KP3 Plus taking some of the percussion and just repeating those with a granular delay. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, it is cool. Yeah, I use it too. Yeah. I've got a KP3 as well. Now, the other thing that you've got is a Red Panda particle, and that thing is a monster, isn't it?
It is. I mean, for me, the fun thing with granular synth is that when you're sampling or using like analog instrument, could be like pianos or maybe electrical pianos or voices or guitars and stuff like that, it almost instantly becomes more interesting than sampling a synth. Because when you're sampling a synth, what's interesting is the transient and the actual sound and the shape. So when you're using granular synthesis on a synth lead, it doesn't really become as interesting. But everybody knows what a piano sounds like a guitar sounds like, right? So when you're mangling up normal acoustic voices, it always becomes way, way more interesting to listen to. So this is what the Red Panda does as well. So it does really well. So I use it for my piano sounds. I used to have it on my Reface CP3, like you saw in this video. But also today I use it on my Korg Grand Stage, I think it is, the 73 key one, as like a simple delay to throw granular like clouds in and out of the melodies when I'm playing. And it adds that extra shimmer, weird, subtle thing on the melodies that I think, can help a lot just to create that extra atmosphere.
Brilliant. Now, Damiano in the chat has said, how do you mix so many instruments? Now, we kind of I don't know if we kind of covered that a little bit, but I do know, now you can correct me if I'm wrong, Berg, but I do know that you put, so you were mentioning before that obviously you've got the Presonus and there's 16 inputs in that, but you also used some of your other instruments to mix through. So I know back when you were doing the stuff with the TR8, you used to bring stuff into that. You used to bring stuff into your KP3 as well. So you were using other instruments to mix in. Did you use the Analog 4 as well as an input, or?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
So I have the TR8 user that I had before. Today I have the TR8S, basically doing the same thing. So the TR8S today, as I did with the TR8, I use it mainly for the sidechain. And I have like the Korg Volca bass, one of the main, like the low end synth that I always use for the lower parts of the melodies. And also the Korg Volca keys is part of that as well. So there's like a couple of 3 instruments that goes through the TR8S to give you that pumping feeling that you can program with the kick first, for example, right? And then I use the Analog 4 as a mixer as well. Today I have the Zero Coast or the No Coast together with the Avalon bassline. And the good thing with the Analog 4 is that you can not only use it as a sequencer for the No Coast, but you can also program effects like throw it in and out of the mix, right? You can do like reverb, washes, and delay inserts, and program those with different types of parameter locks and whatnots, right? So you can create an effects structure on top of a melody that makes it move, right? So it's like the same thing that repeats over and over. So you have a little bit of a change going on, right? And that's how I use the mixers in the synths, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
And then the majority of the instruments obviously go through separate channels, but I also have a sub mixer for the piano and stuff like that. So I think the key answer to that question is we already touched base on that before, is that I don't use all of the instruments at the same time. It's very important that you don't try to throw too much stuff into the mix. So you come to a point when you're making music, oh my God, this is too much, right? You just have to remove things and make sure that whatever stuff you're putting in obviously has like a main frequency area. If you look at from a spectral analyzer, you can see where how much area the actual sound fills up, right? So if you have too many sounds that fills up the same area, obviously it will become saturated and sound dull. So to build the area, breathiness into music, to make sure that when you're adding a new sound with the same spectrum, you need to remove something, right? So you have dynamics working together. So this is basically what I do when I have 2 sounds that sound of sort of the same thing. I try to make sure that I punch the old one out before they punch the new one in.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So that's some really good insight there. Now, I think we'll answer the questions about the video, because I mean that's another part of your performance, really, isn't it? That people are attracted to. They like seeing the visuals. So I think we mentioned the Zoom Q4 was one of the cameras. I've actually got a Zoom Q4 as well. And now, obviously, you've got I think you used GoPros, didn't you, at one stage?
I did use GoPros, and I also used the Q4 to some extent. But after some time, I had to to make sure that because here's the thing: when you record so many channel of video at the same time, all of the channels need to be with the same codec, and they need to be the same quality and same everything, right? The same size and resolution. Because if you mix and match too much, when you have 5 streams going into the computer will really, really need to be super, super heavy in order to make sure that you can actually render some usable material at the end, right? So I had to go to using Panasonic Lumix cameras, houses, with a mix of different lenses, and basically make sure that I have the same codec, the same, all the same settings on all the same cameras to have as good, baseline of camera raw footage coming into the computer.
Oh, that's awesome.
And combining that then with obviously different types of lenses that I've purchased over the years, gives me an opportunity to set everything up. I have like 5 or 6 cameras, and I just turn them on at the same time. You go around the room, turn them on, and I do like the clap. I clap something, make sure that there's an audio that's audible on all the cameras and also on the 2-track recording device, and then I just align that click or that clap in my timeline in my computer to make sure that they're all matched and all of the videos are in sync, right?
Yeah,
it's all continuous recording on all cameras at one at the same time to achieve that. Then I just blend the channels, to my heart's desires, right?
Yeah, so you're recording on your actual camera itself, the little SD card in the camera, and then you're taking the footage from the SD card into the computer, and then you're using the clap. Do you use Adobe Premiere to do the clap thing, or do you use something else?
Clap with my hands. Clap with my hands, or clap with the drum or something.
Yeah, clap with your hands. But when you're actually putting it in, do you use Adobe Premiere, or do you use something else to merge all your videos together?
The actual software Adobe Premiere. Yeah, that's the software that I'm using, right? Yeah. So you just expand it really high so you can see the spikes on all the channels and just line them, right? It's super simple.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Hopefully that's answered some of the questions about videos. I live streamed a couple of streams ago about the new ATEM MIDI from Blackmagic Design, which has got it's actually really cool. It's got 4 HDMI inputs on it, and you can plug any sort of camera in there, and it does its own downscaling. So you know how you're talking about codecs and things like that? So the little box itself, it outputs to one type of whether it's 1080 at 60p or whatever, it outputs to one. As a performance thing, I'm actually going to start using this, and instead of having to manually splice all the cameras together, because I do the same thing as you, I'm going to sort of try and get myself hitting these little camera buttons whilst I'm recording, and that's going to be part of my performance, hitting notes, hitting drum beats, and then hitting camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, kind of as part of the performance. And then the output will just be a singular output, and then just have to sort of practice that. And then in terms of producing the actual video, it'll be a lot more efficient because you only have to record the audio and the video, and whatever's the result is the result. So that's just another option that's coming out now anyway. So yeah, cool. All right,
that's a great thing. I haven't heard about it. Was that from Blackmagic, you said?
It's called ATEM MIDI, and it's from Blackmagic Design. I did a video on. If you look at my stream later, you can have a look later. There's a little stream on it. I have to check that out. Yeah, check it out. It actually outputs to HDMI, so you can record that directly into a capture card, or you can use a HDMI recorder, or you can actually output through USB, and it acts as a webcam, and it's class compliant, so no drivers are needed. You just literally plug it in. Awesome. Your computer sees it as a webcam. Great. Yeah. So it's pretty cool. Cool. All right.
While we're on the subject of videos, if I can just ask, earlier in the year, you made a video that was more like a video music clip. Do you know what I mean? You're outdoors. I think you had a girl singing, and you're in like a cityscape. Have you got any plans to do those kind of videos again? How did that work out for you?
Oh, yes. That was an awesome. Thanks. That was actually, I worked with I Speak Machine and Tara Bush. So this was basically a song that I've written. Well, I've written together with my brother. We have a project on the side. It's more like an electronic synth music kind of project. And there was this song that didn't fit into that. So I had an opportunity to work with Tara over Patreon. And I sort of wanted to explore making videos as well as a creative art, not just recording videos in my studio of the stuff that I was doing, more trying to extend that into some kind of, art form, right? Whatever you call it when you make music videos. And for me, that was a really interesting challenge because I had no idea what I was getting into. Because, making a video like that apparently is a really big thing, and it takes a lot of time, and just planning location and lighting and setting and all those things was really, really a big eye-opener for me. And I think that I learned a lot. So I will be using all of that knowledge, I think, for a future project. But for Burg, I think I'll stick to, music videos in the studio and try to use this, more creative filmmaking side of things for things that doesn't have to, because it takes a lot of time, right? I think from the moment that we decided to make the song together, I wrote the song, recorded the song until the video was done was like 3 months, right?
Wow.
So the stuff that you see on my channel basically happens overnight, right? It's maybe a weekend tops, and from when I have an idea, I record it, and when it's out on YouTube, you know, I can't be waiting 3 months, you know, to release music. It takes too long.
Yeah, fair enough. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I think we'll just sort of give Burg a small break there, because we've been hammering him with questions, and you know he's got have a little break. Now, what I was going to say is, last week we did a stream on the geeky stuff. We were doing you know, DIY projects. We were doing things like I even soldered something on the stream, which was just pretty stupid, but I did it, and I did it for fun, and believe it or not, it actually works. And I did say to you guys that I was going to actually play with something during the week, and I have been. I've been playing with it. Now I've got it sitting right here. Now I don't know if you guys are into this sort of stuff. I know some of them on the stream are, but this is an Arduino, and this has got it's just powered by USB at the moment. This has got a little USB shield. This is just a prototype that I've made, and forget about the OLED display for the moment. That's kind of secondary. What you can see here is this is actually now going to a MIDI DIN plug here. And what this is now is the prototype of a MIDI host. So you've got a USB connection here, which plugs into this cheapy Korg, and it's only got a USB connection on the side. So, and that's going into, I'll just go back to me so you can see it. That's now plugged into the MS1. So there's me playing the MS101. Right, and then let's just go back to here. So there you go. That's just a little Arduino project that I did during the week, just to show that these things, you know, you can make yourself these things. It wasn't that hard. It was literally a couple of wires. Now, what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to turn it into a smaller version. So with the Arduino, that's like the project version. You can get these nano versions, which are really, really small, and then the USB thing you can get for it as well, which is small. And I'm going to try and fit it into a tiny little box with the MIDI on one end and the USB on the other. And literally, that's going to be my little USB host if I ever need it. So I just thought I did promise I was going to do it during the week, and I did. There you go. The only thing was that I wanted to have that OLED display as a little bonus. I actually wanted, I should show you guys here. So, see, this is a little OLED display here. Haven't even taken the little plastic sticker off. Now, I can get that to show text on there. Now, what I wanted it to do is I wanted to spew out all the MIDI stuff, note on, note off, all that sort of stuff. And I have to say, I haven't quite finished writing the code for that. So anyway, that will probably be the bonus to it. So I'm hoping to make that kind of a little box, OLED display up the top, USB on one end, MIDI DIN on the other, USB power, bang, you've got yourself a MIDI host, no computer needed. And what I'll do is when I finish doing all that, I'll put all the information up on my YouTube channel and my website, and you guys can copy it and do what you like. It's all going to be open source. So it's not, I haven't invented this. Other people have done this as well. So I'm going to be sharing open source code as well. Anyway, I just thought I'd show you that because that's kind of something that I did promise I'd do.
And how did you go last week with the MIDI splitter that you were soldering on live to air?
Yeah, it's just over here. It's working.
You gave it a run and it hasn't set fire to the house?
Well, how about I just press play. Can you hear that?
Hey, there we go.
It's playing through it.
Very good.
It's just sitting here.
Hang on, there's sparks up the back there. Careful, careful.
See, there it is there. And it's working. And that was just a little Burg for you. That was the little Me Blip kit that you can buy from that company, Me Blip. And it was like a little 5-port MIDI through with the DIN, and you just had to solder 5 MIDI plugs into a circuit board. Did it on the stream. It took me a little bit longer because I was streaming, but but let's say it would only take you 15 minutes. And it's $20 for a 5-port MIDI through. I think that's pretty cheap. I can remember buying a a MIDI solution one. You know those ones that everyone gets, MIDI solutions, MIDI 3. I think it was like $100 for that. So there you go.
Quadra through.
Quadra through, that's the one. Yeah. So yeah. Now, guys in the chat, you guys have been pretty busy. Just let us know if you've got any questions that you want to ask for any part of the stream, but more importantly for Burg, because he's our special guest. Burg, I will say we love having you on the stream, and you're more than welcome to come back. Let me tell you, I know you're pretty busy at the moment, but no, this is actually really cool, fun doing this, and we do like to have fun, don't we, Inky? We have all sorts of things going on in this stream.
Oh, anything can happen.
More than
anything can happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm more than happy to come back. Once I get my studio sorted out, it's a little bit of mess, obviously, moving across the big pond, right? But once I have that set up, I'm more than happy to join you guys again. It's always fun to geek out and talk, synths. That's why we're here, right?
That is, and as long as, and my rule is, as long as we are actually creating music, as long as we're not doing too much geeky stuff, as long as we're actually, punching the tunes out, I'm quite happy. So, yeah. Cool. Now, I will actually say this. Darren, who usually sits where you are, Burg, he's in the chat room now. He's in the middle of doing his studio, and he keeps complaining about how small it is. I think he's got like what did he say? He was like 6 foot by 6 foot square or something.
Yeah, I think he can touch it like that.
Yeah.
I think he can kind of.
I think it might be slightly bigger than that, but yeah. But it's pretty small, and you should see. I don't know if you've seen. He's got things like Junos in there, and quasi MIDI Ravens, and he's got racks with Akai samplers in it. He's got an SH101. I love those things. So he's in the middle of doing his studio. So you guys can bang heads together and talk about rewiring your studios, because I'm sure you'll be going through the same stuff at the same time. I don't know if he's still around. He was in the chat room before. So yeah, and I've got most of my gear is always just sort of along here, and I'm kind of a bit like you, Burg, where I tend to I'll pull things out and put things on. So like if I'm not gelling with the mini log there, I'll take that off and I'll put something else in its place. I've still got the TR8, so I never got rid of my TR8. I've had my TR8 since 2014. When they first came out, and I never got rid of it.
To be really honest with you, Rance, I miss my old TR8.
You do?
I miss my TR8. The TR8S isn't as hands-on as the TR8 used to be, right? So I'm actually thinking about selling the TR8S and get the TR8 again.
Get the TR8 again. Yeah. Well, I mean,
now's the right time.
Yeah. Go, Winkies.
They're really. I've been looking at the TR8 just for the sounds and
they're
the
really
hands-on.
Now. They're really cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things I love about it is that you can, you can sequence it out externally. You don't have to use, because I find the internal sequencer on that a little bit limited. So when you start having things like, I've got an MPC Live there, and they're completely unlimited, in terms of what they can sequence. I'm finding it now so much more. It's all of a sudden, it's just taken a new level with me. Before I'd sort of put it away thinking, I can only do, 2 or A and B of 16 or whatever, 8 tracks or whatever it was. And I just thought, it's very limited what you can do. But now you can, because you can MIDI sequence it. You can do things like pitch through CC message, you can change the pitch of different kicks and all sorts of stuff. You can do it all via MIDI, and I just found that kind of refreshing. So if you're that way, if you like programming MIDI, Darren also, he's the guy that we keep talking about. He's also got a TR8 too, so he talks about his TR8 a bit too. So I think it's interesting that you said that you kind of aren't gelling with, well, not so much not gelling, but you're finding that the performance side of the TR8 still is better, isn't it?
It is. It is. Because you know how we are, right? I mean, not everybody, but at least myself. Having all of the controls in front of me, one setup, rather than having to go into menus and stuff like that. And the TR8 does exactly that. You have one volume knob, you have all the faders, you know, the rotary knobs for each sound, and there's nothing else, right? Everything is there in front of you, right?
Yeah.
And for me, that is so much easier when you want to do some, you know, quick changes on the fly, right? Because it's all about muscle memory, right? I rely a lot on muscle memory when working in the studio. I learn, you know, where things are. I don't have to look at things. I can just, you know, touch and feel.
Yeah.
And if there's a menu dive involved somewhere, I'll get completely lost, right? So this is why I kind of prefer the TR8. The TR.
It almost, I would probably, I mean, I've never owned a TR8S, so I can't really sort of say, oh, it's got better than this than that. But for me, I could close my eyes and I could grab something on the TR8 and know exactly what I'm touching without having to use my eyes. Yeah. It's got actually a very easy layout to it. So I don't know. And when you're performing, you were saying about muscle memory, you know, musicians who play acoustic instruments are the same, aren't they? Everything is based on muscle memory. So that kind of goes back to that sort of older sort of style of performing, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I'm not saying that a TR8S is a bad drum machine or, you know, unit. Overall, it's a great machine, right? I mean, so it's an awesome piece of kit. But, you know, for me, in the current workflow, what I have, I think it makes less sense to have like a device that does so many things in my setup, right? As a standalone unit. It's all the Digitacs and Analog 4 are probably way too powerful for what I use them for. Yeah. But, you know, just distilling it down to sounds, I think that the TR8 drum machine, you know, is very specific in what it provides. You know, together with the external inputs and the, you know, sidechain that I love a lot, right? So I think that's, I'm not saying that I'm going to switch, but, you know, it's kind of, I'm kind of feeling a change somewhere down the road.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably get the TR8 again and maybe get yourself that little MC 101, the little sort of. It's basically a TR8S, isn't it? Yeah. And that, I mean, I like those little things. They don't take up too much desk space, and you can just sort of squeeze it in your setup. Yeah. What was I going to say? The Analog 4, the new firmware update. Did you hear about that?
I haven't upgraded it yet. So I heard about it. You can sequence external units and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, so MIDI external now. So it sends MIDI.
But I haven't installed it.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm an old guy, right? You know, not an old guy. Maybe I am as well. But I'm not kidding, right? It took me 4 years before I upgraded my Analog 4 to the latest revision, right? So I had it on original stock firmware for 4 years before I upgraded it. And it was like, I don't know who it was. Somebody said, well, you can get FM sounds as well. I'm like, all right, this might be worth it. So I upgraded it and I got it, but I haven't.
Yeah.
I take a really, really long time before I upgrade stuff because I'm super, super scared that something will break or will brick something, right? So I might be a little bit of a dinosaur when it comes to that. I've been getting better lately, but I'm still a little bit scared.
Yeah, fair enough. I think that's for me the MIDI side of it was always a little frustrating limitation, and because it has that CV, you can sequence, you know, like you use it to sequence your make noise, right? So because it's got the CV output on it, but it never ever, we could never use it to send MIDI out. And I think now that they've finally allowed that, I think it's going to give that little device another set of legs that people will gel with. Sorry, Dazzle, I cut you off. What were you going to say, mate?
Yeah, I was just going to say that's all part of what gives you your own unique style. You've developed into who you are, and there's a consistency there that I'm sure that your followers appreciate.
Absolutely.
Changing the subject a little bit.
Thank you.
Yeah, go for it.
I'm just sucking up to you now. Changing the subject a little bit, it's good when you bring acoustic elements into what you're doing, like when you're playing the electric guitar. I'm wondering about your signal chain when you're running a guitar into the rig, and I'm also wondering about when you're playing live, because we've seen you do a couple of shows in Malaysia, and I was wondering if you're planning to do more of that type of stuff where you are now. I've got a situation where I'm able to go.
So
you're on, Berg.
I've got a situation just
Go ahead.
close to where I can play in front of an audience just in a restaurant. So I'm able to take a section of my rig just down the road, basically, and once or twice a week, and just go and play in front of people, and that really helps me to develop. So yeah, I'll just throw it back to you.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thanks, Nas. That's a good point. So looking at my signal chain when I play the guitar, it's been a little bit different from time to time. It's not always the same. Depends on a little bit what I want to do. But I have this Line 6 FX100, I think it's called, like a FX board, pedal board, or whatever, that has like an amp emulator, right? And that's an important part of using the guitar in a like mine, right? So I just basically use that and put whatever pedals in front of it, and then I use the amp simulator to make sure that it sounds like a cabinet, and then just put that into the mixer and use it, together with the other instruments, right? So that's like the simple setup. And then I have the more complex, advanced one when I use the guitar together with my modular system. I have this mutable instruments MI ears. I think they did that in combination with another company. Not sure if Emily did that herself or whatever. It's like an input device. It has a contact microphone, and it also has a microphone preamp, so you can connect your guitar through it. And I use a contact microphone on my electric guitar, actually. It's like going above and beyond on what you normally should do, that I just put it on the guitar and use that signal through the actual body through the modular instead to make some weird sounds. I think I had some video that I made that I'm using like low guitar as well to play the guitar. It makes some really weird sounds. But most oftentimes for clean sounds, like normal guitar sounding sounds, I use the FX100. But if I want to go experimental, I just pick up whatever weird stuff that makes do, right? And just change the guitar to something completely different.
Yeah. It just makes me wonder. Do you send send it through an effects loop as well? And I'm also thinking, do you do much looping? Have you ever looped up sounds and just left them running in what you do, like you could do with the chaos?
Yeah, so looping is something that I probably should explore a little bit more. I have been pretty bad on utilizing, loopers as an instrument, the way that I've been using sequencers, right? Well, one of the problems that I have with loopers, this is me, my HDAD, whatever is talking, because loopers, there wasn't back in the day when I started buying looper pedals, stuff that could actually be exactly like 1 bar, 2 bar, 6 bar, 8 bars, right? It was always time based rather than sequencer and pattern based, right? So Pigtronics, I think they made a looper pedal that was pretty expensive, some $500-$600 or something like that. I never bought it, but that would have been a good opportunity for me to jam something and just keep that looping on end, right? Because that will give you an exact bar of loop that just follows the music in a program and sequential manner. Whilst using the chaos pad, for example, is never exact. It's always a little bit of a drift because you have to punch in and punch out manually.
Yeah.
And you can use that downside to its own upside, right? You can create sequences that can actually work over a longer,
Yeah, you can.
While we got ambient
you,
sound, so
I just thought while we got you talking there, Berg, I just wanted to show everyone what the ears is. So that's what it is.
Yes, that's the one. That's the one. So I think that Emily worked with somebody. I don't remember the company. There you go. It says there, take on Tom Whitwell's open source microphony model, right? So I think she made a special version of it or something like that. It's really, really great because you can use it not only for a contract microphone, you can connect external instruments, and you can use the signaler as a trig or envelope within the modular as well. So you can do many, many fun things with it. And it's super cheap as well. It's like $90.
Yeah, I just noticed that. €98. Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah.
So the other thing that we kind of were talking about just then was was looping. Now, I mean, Inky is a big sampler, looper, extraordinaire. So she's shaking her head.
I don't. I think you've got the wrong Inky, but I was thinking the MPC does that now. You sample a bar, put it to a pad, which you couldn't do initially. It was like a workaround. But I find with looping, I'm a bit. It's harder to change it once you've done it. It's there in audio, isn't it? Whereas if it's sequence, you can alter it and alter the sound. So I'd like to get into it. I'm just a bit scared, I think. I've got full respect for people with looping. I think it's really quite hard.
The future of the MPC stuff is more this sort of granular side of sampling. So where you are actually, you record your sample, and then you are slicing that up, and then you're manipulating that in a granular sort of way, and then you're sequencing that. And one of the things that I love about the Octatrack is that you can do things like what Burg was saying before with the Analog 4. You can parameter lock on a step, and that could be any of the features of that. To do with the sample, you could be reversing it, and then you could be adding in an effect and then turning the effect off, or you could be enveloping it, anything, so basically every step can have a different I think a bunch of different parameter changes, and that can get some real sort of granular sort of tricks up its sleeve. And then you can play with delay, and you can actually get some granular sort of craziness out of delays. You can freeze delays, you can then chop the freeze up and resample it, and it's crazy where you can go with it. So
and then you can slide between two presets basically with that slider as well in the Octatrack.
You've got that, the AB, which is really cool.
I'd love to give that a go, but I've got to give a big heads up to the Boss RC505. I'm just in love with that still. It's just so fluid and flexible, and it's got good effects, and it's got a granular delay. I wouldn't say it's the greatest thing, but it can mangle sound. And it's that you establish your rhythm, but then you've got to bring the changes into it. You've got to let the song evolve somehow. We were jamming with it today. I had a guitarist in here, and you can see the video that I just managed to get up, if that's of interest to anyone. But we were aiming to play for 5 minutes, and sort of 12 minutes later, we're like, where did the time go? And it's that ability to just layer things up, take things out, bring them back in again. There's a variety of ways to sync it up, so it depends how you want to use it. I don't have it in free mode. I've always got it clocked to the rest of my system, and it just stays locked tight. The effects are really easy to just grab and manipulate, and yes, I'm just loving that. When I'm playing live, I'm running my vocals through there. I run guitar into it. And that's on an effect send, so I've got that as a send. I can just assign anything to it, and then take that out and have any instrument playing independent of it as well. Yeah so awesome. The 505 is huge. I think with the Octatrack, I've always wanted one, but it's a bit more technical to set up and a bit more complicated. I just don't want to have to get bogged down in that.
Yeah, it's a bit of menu diving in it, which I think some people don't like, but you don't have to menu dive once you know where there are kind of button and key combinations and things with it. Once you actually learn how the actual sequencer and everything works, you're not really menu diving in it. It's only setting up type menu diving stuff. So yeah,
there's a little bit of that with the 505, but it's pretty straightforward. Yeah
Electron are pretty big on, they don't really like, they absolutely hated being told that the tiny screens and you've got a menu. They didn't really want that, because that's actually not what they were very big on, making sure when they released their products, they weren't menu diving products. So when they sort of earned that label, they were kind of a bit upset, because really that was, one of their focuses, that when you actually use it as a performer, you're not having to do menu diving in it at all. If anyone knows about Electron gear, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So I mean, MPCs, you have to menu dive. So because it's limited to the screen that you're on, right?
Can I ask Ollie, have you considered the 505 or the 202 or the Octatrack? Have you got an Octatrack? I'm not sure.
No, he doesn't.
I don't have an Octatrack. Neither do I have a 505 or 202. So But from a sampling perspective, if that's the topic here,
Yeah.
I mean, I just use my Chaos pad, for vocal samples and stuff like that, right? And also the Digitac does what I need, in terms of one hits and maybe some smaller, less complex samples, right? So I actually haven't really thought of going the full-on like sampler. I've looked at what are they called, the 101s, the MC 101s, and the 707s or 505. Is that what their name are today? Haven't really decided if I want to go down that route yet. So it's still an unexplored territory for me.
Yeah, it's the new part that you could look into. Well, you could always do Eurorack sampling as well. That's another part of it. There's some nice samplers in Eurorack too.
You can do. That's true. Yeah, I actually have one of the Sound Hack, what is called Morphogene.
Yeah.
But I use that for vocals and for pianos and acoustic samples as well. So it's not really synths or beats per se, right? It's more like mangled and weird stuff.
Yeah, that's what I like. I like the mangling. Yeah, you got to mangle it. The non, I don't like this all perfect, computerized beats. I like to sort of organic it up, which is what I love about Eurorack. Yeah. Let me just pause the convo for a sec. I just want to bring the guys in chat in because there's a few comments. Axel Soft said something, and also John Cuba. How you going, John Cuba, for joining us? And anyone else I've missed out, I do apologise. It's been hard to talk about everyone. Anyway, so he's got a personal Black Friday deal: Audio Source Collider and Arturia Beatstep Pro Black, including 14 HQ CV Gate cables for under €600. So you might want to check that out. And Axel Soft is saying there's no mention of the 10 new Behringer synth trademarks in the news. So I don't want to make that. Behringer are in the news every day at the moment, and honestly, they don't send me any money, so I don't want to be banging on about Behringer all the time. I actually much prefer to talk about how we use the gear. Yeah, getting people to talk about how, making music, that's more important to me.
Okay, can I change the subject then? Can we talk about live setup and what do you take from your home to a gig? How do you do that?
Good question. Let's go. That's for you, Burg.
Oh, you want to ask me? Well, that's a difficult one because I've done this X amount of times now, and I tend to change the setup every time, unfortunately. So there's no real good silver bullet here. But, what I've done here is more like, okay, so I have a live gig. I was like, what am I going to play? So I'll just sit down and I select a number of instruments and I then make music with those instruments. And I just literally take those tracks and remake them live, right? All right. So that for me is sort of how I approach music, because I don't want to be in a situation where I just repeat the tracks that I've recorded and just replay them live so it sounds exactly the same. I want to make sure that every live experience, every musical experience that you have with Burg will be unique, right? So I had my farewell gig, for example, at Phono KL in Malaysia. And I wrote a special set for that live gig, and I think that for me that's a challenge. Obviously, I have to come up with 1 hour plus material out of thin air, and obviously I reused some phrases and some beats and some stuff, but I made sure that the actual live set was exactly tailored for that event. So I had my modular, I had my small piano, I had other stuff with me. The Volca keys is always with me. The Volca bass as well, right? So it becomes more of a special event every time. So I think for me that will be the same way going forward. I will always treat each and every individual live event as a separate session, right? And it's just write music for that event, and that also gives me an opportunity, an upper hand when the people at the venue might say, well, today we have more of a techno style of event. Then I can write more techno style music, and if there's more like a synthwave, well, then I can write synthwave music. So a little bit depending on the venue, I can actually change my musical appearance a little bit, just to make sure that I match better with the other bands as well, right? So for me, that's kind of a fun thing and sort of a, a challenge. So yeah, it's not the best answer because you probably want to have like a gear list. These are the things that I want to bring, but
that is the best answer.
That is the best answer. It is.
Because I've been looking for ages to set up, but I get bored and I want to mix it up and change things every time I jam. I want to add something, and we are looking for the perfect setup to take out. So to know that there isn't one has saved me a lot of time. Thank you. Yeah, because I like to play live, and once I've done it, once it's performed once, I don't feel for it anymore. It's on ether. I want something new.
Yeah.
If that's like other people, yes.
Your internet is really choppy today, Inky. I'm really sorry. I really would love to hear what you just said there, but it was kind of like every third word. I do apologise. I don't know what's going on at your end.
She's making the point that she's been playing live and the elements required there and the challenges. I play for 3 hours when I go out.
I wouldn't worry about it. We're probably going to end the stream soon, but
I'll go reset it. Hold on.
Yeah. While we're talking about this, even the biggest bands in the world have, reportedly, they're probably obviously not going to say this through their media, but personal, conversations secretly in bars and things like that. I actually went and saw these guys play on the weekend. Now, what you're seeing there is a photo that I took. Now, that's U2. That's the Joshua Tree. And right underneath, very, very tinily, is them. One guy's got his hand up. You can just make it out. That's how far away I was from them. This is in a massive stadium. Now, when they were talking about playing live, they love playing their music, and obviously they love the ability to play their hits, and everyone loves it, and they love the crowd of interaction and all that sort of stuff. But one of the things they've been known to say is that they would love it if every single concert they did there was something, new and unique. And it's kind of what you were saying, Burg. It's like, let's change it up each time. So that someone comes to you twice, they're going to get a new performance. They're going to get, instead of you just making Big Macs every week, you don't want to be like a fast food chain, do you? So, I mean, it's nice also to be able to produce those really popular songs, but I think even U2 were known to say that they would love to be able to do new stuff each time. I think it's all a dream for us, that.
Can I kind of describe what I've been doing? I have to play for 3 hours, so that's a lot of time to fill in, and I have to move from one thing to another. I've got if you don't know my rig, I'm working with a Yamaha Montage is my main keyboard, which can give me a whole variety of sounds. Everything's going into a DJ mixer. Then I've got a Volca Beats and a Volca Bass. I find the Beats gives me a very deep kick drum, which I can layer with the Korg Electro MX, which will give me a stronger puncher kick. So I put those two together, I've got a solid kick. I can play acoustic guitar over the top of that and sing. So that gives me a basic backing to a song that I'm then playing acoustic elements over the top of. The other thing there is the RC505, and then I've got some effects loops, Strymon Blue Sky and the MS-70 CDR. So I find with that, I've got a lot of variety, but where I've got to have something pre-planned is in the presets. Wherever I'm using a sequencer, like in the EMX, in the Electro, I've got to have it in a certain key. So I've got presets that are in the key of C. I've got the C sharp. If I'm playing in D, I've got one that's in D. I've got a whole range of them. So I've got to be able to sort of match that to what I'm playing, add some loops, and I'm slowly getting more fluid with that process of mixing things together. Add to that trying to film it and record it at the same time. It's this whole other element, and I'm in front of people. It's got to happen, and the cameras are secondary. So I've done some really good performances, but I haven't been able to capture it on film because my batteries are going flat. I had the cable somehow not recording correctly into the Q4. It's like, but what matters is what's going out to the front of house. Like, but you can understand the challenges there.
That's what I was saying before about that A10 thing. You know, if you're going to be performing live, and you've got maybe 2 or 3 cameras. Definitely have one pointed at your audience, and then have that mic so that you can hear them, you know, and stuff like that. You can actually fade a bit of that into your mix as well if you want to, or fade it out if you don't. But while you're playing live, the last thing you want to do is you don't want to have to be able to control cameras. And if you don't have anyone helping you, sometimes we have to do these things alone. You might have a big projector at the back behind you, and you can say to people, hey, look, can I feed the performance through the projector? And if you've got one of these things, you're just hitting camera 1, camera 2, camera 3. And like the other thing, Burg, you know how you do those really awesome projector things on your wall when you do your videos? So you could actually have a PC or a laptop or an iPad or whatever plugged into one of the inputs, and that can also be faded in as to what's going up on the projector on the output as well. So you can show the audience, then you can camera pan to you playing your gear, like it might be, you know, that angle, and then you might be doing that angle, and then you're panning to, you know, everyone in the audience, you know. And so you can do that with just a quick hit of the button, and it doesn't take you off your performing. So Dazza, that's kind of the sort of thing that I think you mean, isn't it?
I've been following Jacob Collier for a few months now. I've mentioned him before in the he has a system where they're filming him as he makes a loop. The video of that loop goes into a loop, so you end up with 4 or 5 Jacob Colliers on the screen behind him.
Oh, that's clever. Yeah, that's really cool.
Loop till the loop stops and then the video stops. I'm getting to where I have to think of the cameras as another instrument. They're actually part of the show with me. That's the only way I can integrate them. I've got the Chaos pad at the very end of my signal chain before the speakers. The speakers are actually running off the Chaos pad, and the camera is recording the headphone out of the Chaos pad. But I almost want to record the camera out. Actually, I could have the camera out running to the speakers, and that way I'm actually hearing what's being recorded as I record it. Because,
you gotta be a little bit careful of that though, because
the battery dies.
you can get ground loop noise through cameras. So you got to be careful with that.
But that's what's happening to my video. I'm ending up with all sorts of noise in the video. That's why the things you're seeing on YouTube don't really reflect what's been happening. I've been having some really good gigs, but it doesn't show.
Just keep practicing, mate. You'll get there. Keep asking questions. Keep practicing.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right. Well, we've hit about.
I think does I hear the point?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Just want to recap on the thing Dazza said in the beginning. I think you hit a good point when you said that the main idea of the live set and the gig is for the people who are there. Right? Yeah. You want to make sure that you give them 100%. And then you can work with your left hand to make sure that you maybe can capture it on audio. I mean, I messed up my last live gig as well. I didn't get it. You know, the signal was too hot and it was distorted. It sounded like shit. Part of my swearing, but you know, it is what it is. But you know, everybody who was there at the gig, they enjoyed it, right? So that's the main idea, main objective, I think. And having it recorded, you know, video and audio, I think is sort of secondary. So if you go in with that approach, you know, it will be just fine, I think.
Good. Some good advice. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's good to have a regular, like a home venue that you can constantly go back to and just get that regular play. I've got to say the previous one I did, I just had a really bad night. It was just a flat night. I almost lost my confidence with it, and I had to get that confidence back up. I went in the next week and just killed it. It was just really good this week. Just that repetition and exposure, and dealing with problems when they come up and resolving them.
Well, I think I mentioned before, I think it's really important that we do embrace the visuals, because people, even though they're listening to our music, they are visual people out there in the world. And if you kind of have an experience, it's a bit like when you go to a club, isn't it, Inky? When you have an experience at the club and there's, you know, lights and, you know, it's that kind of visual experience while the music's there, it kind of helps gel with everything. So
I definitely think that it's part of the experience. Like when I was a DJ, I played at a club, and there was no lights, just some white lights on me, and it was like being naked on stage. It was horrible, and there's no atmosphere. So you're creating an environment. So lighting's, one of the top issues I don't think we think about enough, because you think the venue's going to think about it, don't you? You always think the venue's going to cover it, but sometimes they don't just cut it enough. So I think it is the next stage, isn't it? Once you've started to play out a bit more, to get a lighting rig, something that's portable, that's going to kind of at least put you in the right light, if nothing else, you know.
Well, I mean, I've even thought about going up to a place and just taking my projector with me, and just saying, right, I'm gonna just aim that at the wall behind me, and this is going to be my gear here. And then, you know, if you don't have anything decent, at least they've got something visual that they can look at. And
but the dream is to have the light respond to the music, have the sound trigger the lights. That's something I'm aiming. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a new gadget or gizmo being developed that'll be available at a lower price point for people to run lights that respond to MIDI or.
That's it.
They're already there. There's already stuff there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a price point though. That's what I think we're all talking about at the moment. We're musicians, so when it comes to expending a lot of money on anything that's not musical, we're like, oh, do I really need it? Can't I just take a flashing light bulb? Or you know what I mean? So but there is going to be a time when it's £300 and you go, yeah, this is what I need, and I'll only need one.
Yeah. Now, just to keep things lighthearted, Xils-labs is asking everyone in the chat. Here's a quick question for you, everyone. How many of us who own a synth actually also have a beard? Now, Inky's probably not quite in that.
I'm starting to sweat.
Well, I mean, I got one.
So what's the question? Is the synth supposed to have a beard as well? I don't get the question.
Oh no, I think a synth owner's supposed to be bearded. We're all bearded. Bearded grumps who own synths. Dazza, you haven't grown your beard yet, mate.
No, I don't even
You're
have
too
a beard,
clean shaven.
Take heart, Inky. We're in the same boat down here in these bottom cameras here.
Yeah. I think he was just having a bit of a joke.
No, I really don't have a beard. I couldn't grow one. It's
look, it's you know, if you really want to get into the VJ, we'll call it the VJ side of music. You know, V is the letter V, right? That is, you know, there's a whole new world there. There's software that can do it. You can, like I was showing Arduino before, you can actually even get, you know, Arduino to do sort of light stuff, LED light stuff. Yeah. So it's, you know,
if you want to do if you want to do video work and combine videos live, Virtual DJ will do that.
Yep.
And it's only about £200, I think. It's quite good for blurring visuals live. You can use like a DJ controller to blur all your videos live.
Yeah. And you can also what's that other thing, Inky? The what do they call it with the computers? Visualizations is the word I'm trying to. You know, when you play music on your computer and you can full screen your visualizations.
Oh yeah.
And it changes to the music. Yeah. So
auto generates. I've got fractals
and things. Yeah, kaleidoscopes and that cool stuff.
There's actually a free. I think it's free. It's a free online app called Hydra.
Yep.
That does visuals in your Chrome browser. It reacts to music. And you can actually network multiple computers together, so you can have people interact and work with you together with your visuals, and you know, have pictures and stuff like that involved. It's excellent. I tried that on the latest videos that I did, and it works really brilliantly. Right. The only problem is that it's hard to automate things, so it moves on for a longer period of time.
Yeah.
That's probably where the VJ part comes in. But you know, check out Hydra. It's free. It runs in a Chrome browser. Literally on your computer. Yeah.
Well, the number one thing is it have to be simple. I can't have like any kind of distraction from what I'm doing. It's just
you want to kind of set it and forget it. That's what you want. Something that you can set and forget.
Yeah.
And then you know.
Yeah.
about the only thing that I'm prepared to do whilst I'm performing live is to press maybe a couple of different camera buttons, and that's it. And I'll probably even forget to do that because you're just so busy, aren't you? There's so many knobs and buttons to press, isn't there? So anyway, guys, I think we've been going for an hour and 45, which is a little bit longer than we normally like to do. So I just thought we've definitely run a great stream tonight, and it's also been awesome. Absolutely, we can't thank you more than enough, Burg, for coming on and sharing everything that you've shared with us. I think it's been really, really good, and anyone who gets to watch this on a replay will love half of the stuff that you said, I'm sure. So, as I said before, you're more than welcome
All
to
of the
come back, or all the stuff. Yeah, not even a quarter of it, even 1% of it. They're going to love it. That's it. A smidge, a crumb. And big thanks to everyone who's stuck around in chat too. Always appreciate. There's a lot of similar faces and regulars that come in. Always appreciate you guys coming in as well. So that's really, really cool. And also thanks to everyone below me, Inky and Dazza. Really, really appreciate you guys. No, Dazza, you're just a trooper, mate. You've got that true Australian spirit, how you stay up late for us. It's lovely. Now you're going to have trouble going to sleep, mate.
Yeah, I got to wind down now. But great talking to you, Ollie. I really appreciate the information that you've shared with us tonight. That's great, man. Huge inspiration, and yeah, like I said before, I wish I could get my videos up to scratch, but I've got to use things like a better mixer and a better set of cameras, and that'll be coming in time, all in good time.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
We're gonna end the stream here. So a big wave goodbye to everybody. See you later, everyone. Hitting the stream,
Bye.
stopping it
Thank
now.
you, guys.